Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Feeding Curiosity. On today's episode, we are joined by Coach Karlee Owens. Karlee is a movement coach that teaches her athletes to move their body in a way that is naturally designed, strong, secure, pain-free, and forward. Utilizing slow motion video assessments, she is able to assess and address and correct patterns, errors that are causing pain and are hindering performance goals. With a background in soccer, endurance running, and strength conditioning, she takes an intense passion for competition and athletics into her coaching style to help build mentally and physically capable athletes regardless of age, gender, sport, or background. She prioritizes foundation for durability through awareness and integration of pain-free movements, practices, maximize performance and longevity. Karlee is someone I found through the pandemic, which we'll get into in this episode. And in the process of setting up this podcast, I went through her assessment protocol and to not only learn how she processes this stuff, but also for me, because I am training for the Chicago Marathon and I wanted to make sure that I'm moving well and continuing to reinforce good habits to move well. Because, well, lo and behold, I'm like most people my age. I sit behind a desk and I just work on the computer too much. Even though I work out a lot, probably above average than most people, but it's still the amount of time I do spend stationary is not good overall. And so for me to reach out to someone like Karlee is super beneficial and scratches my own itch. On top of all of this, Karlee sees movement in much the same way that I've felt in my own experience since I really got into weightlifting initially, but since then has blossomed into a wholesale obsession on how do you optimize human movements and in some sense get back to our roots as primates, and how do we continue to foster those types of healthy movement patterns in the modern world where we can now forego some of those adaptations that we used to use all of the time but now have lost the ability to move well. So with that, Karlee really gets into a bunch of different areas here and how do we assess ourselves? What are the patterns that you're putting yourself in? Where are you getting stuck? And then also some mindset stuff. If you follow her on Instagram, which I highly, highly recommend you go do, you'll see tons of what she works on. And you'll see not only herself, but her clients that she tags or tag her in her things. And it's really cool to see because this isn't just some hacky crap where it's people who, just look good on camera. It's people who are actually putting in the work every day, doing reps, and it's awesome to see. So with that, everyone, please enjoy this wide-ranging conversation with Coach Karlee. All right. Karlee, thanks for coming to the podcast.
Thanks so much, Erich, for having me here.
Yeah, this is awesome. Long time coming. I mean, I've followed you on Instagram for, I don't even know, probably like a year or 2 years, like around the pandemic starting.
Yeah.
I just found a whole bunch of just movement coaches and stuff. And I was like, these are my people.
My people.
And
you've witnessed the crazy already. You've already witnessed the evolution, probably. This movement
a little bit. I mean, I wasn't, it was kind of the early stages and I had just kind of background for myself. I had kind of gotten into running and just being outside with the pandemic. And I'd already been interested in like the more natural running or like barefoot running type stuff. And that just kind of felt like an extension of what you guys were doing and the small group of people around that area. And I was like, yeah, this is cool just to kind of absorb it via osmosis.
Yeah.
And so it kind of went from there. So with that long preamble, what is your background and how do you describe yourself? Because I mean, there's so many ways to talk about this.
Right. It can be super abstract, but I like to put it simply now as, like you said, I am a movement coach. My goal now in life is to really help people heighten their awareness and understanding of what it means to move, not just what we're doing whether it's just moving around the house, moving in our daily lives, or with training, not just the what, but really how. How are we moving, and trying to help people get back to the most natural way of movement within their bodies to express movement in a lot of different forms, pain-free and fluidly. Because there is a big pandemic, not just the pandemic that we experienced the last few years, but even with pain. There's a pain pandemic, and there's a lot of stuff going on that we'll, I'm sure, dive into. And so my goal in life, my passion in life, is to help people really get back into their bodies and be able to not have to outsource their recovery, their fitness, their performance, their movement, and really be able to own their bodies to achieve a lot of different goals, whether that's strength, whether that's flexibility, whether it's aesthetic or athleticism. If we are honoring our natural human design, which I believe is preserving people's ability to locomote or move forward really, really well, then we can achieve so much. So that's kind of just, it can be a big concept when you talk about being a movement coach that can embody so many things, but that's kind of the gist, is how can we continue to move really well, and I mean, for life, not just right now, maybe while some of us are younger, but as we age, can we age gracefully and be able to do what we love to do every single day?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a really big believer in that. I mean, for me, it's always been longevity when it comes to moving well, but not only that, but it's kind of like, how do you what are the things you can do now? Say you're in your 30s, like I just turned 30, and so that you can preserve some functionality in your body instead of just pretending like you're like, you're not going to lose function over time. Like, that's just the reality of living to some degree. And I just see, I see this in my parents. I see this in older people who just, they stop doing certain things, or they just don't, life happens and life gets busy, and then they lose a lot of functionality, and they're just like, well, and they kind of just accept it as like, well, this is what getting old is like. And
right.
To me, it's like, I've never really accepted that.
Right. Good.
Like, it just seems like a false bargain, I guess, to just be like, well, I can't bend over without pain, or my knees are just going to get like messed up, which to some degree, depending on what your life is like, but there's still ways, I think, that you can mitigate some of the risks. Or at least we just weren't being conscious about how to be smart, I guess.
Yes, there's just a lot of narratives out there now, again, regardless of whether it's in the performance world or maybe the fitness industry or just health in general, that we tell ourselves these kind of like, well, I'm getting older. Well, once you hit 50, and we kind of joke about it, but then these things continue to be a reoccurring problem. And we're seeing a lot of, I mean, back pain is the #1 worldwide disability right now, taking people out of their workplace and kind of just on the sidelines, and just eliminating people being able to participate in their community and their daily life as much as they like to. Well, that's a problem. We just kind of, well, genetics, my knees are kind of busted. Just, it is. I've had bad knees since I was young. Well, that's a narrative that we can eliminate now if we have the awareness. I used to joke all the time that, oh, my dad, you gave me my bad hips. What the heck? Why are my hips so broken? And really, it was not just my hip. My hips were not broken. It's just how I was moving, not just in my athletic performance, but in my downtime at school, how I waited, how I rested, how I was walking around, when I was just standing with my friends. All these little things were contributing to chronic hip pain. And now I can really see that. And I hope to then share that awareness with others, because a little bit goes a long way. And it's been so mind blowing to me the last few years to see more and then feel more, and then, just experience the differences of taking back my ability to move really well and pain free, and then give others that gift as well. Just a little bit goes a long way. And we actually had a session recently, and that was really, really fun. How does your body feel right now? Or, since then, how's your change?
It was really interesting, and kind of two things about that is one, I've a lot of what I've learned about just movement and like weightlifting, that whole world, I've never really had coaches. Like, like, this has kind of been a self-exploration journey, and maybe talking to people here and there, and just kind of applying things, and then just tweaking, and then that kind of stuff. So our session was like one of the first real coaching sessions I've honestly done that didn't feel just kind of like your normal box gym that was like, they're going to teach you the basics because they have to teach everyone the basics. And I'm like, I've already been there, done that, like, on my own. Like, I don't need to go over the basics again. But this actually felt like something that was, this is hitting things that you don't just get from an average instruction. Like, this is something deeper. it's almost kind of like a meditation thing where
Mhm.
you're unlocking like awareness of your body that you're
Mhm.
like, wait, this is there. Why is that? Like I would always see on your Instagram the tap in, and
Yeah.
like you can see it
Oh,
in the
that nervous
videos,
system coming online.
right? Like you can see it in the videos, and you're like,
Yeah,
that doesn't look that hard. And then
yeah,
you actually do it, and you're like, this is ridiculous because I can't
yeah,
control my body.
right. It's
um,
crazy.
and the weirdest thing that happened for me is the next time I ran, which was like 2 or 3 days later from the session,
Mhm,
I ended up having like this really weird knot appear in my left shin, kind of like shin
mhm,
splints,
mhm.
but it wasn't like shin splints like that. Like it was overuse injury type thing. It
Mhm.
was more of like my body was relearning how to run
Yeah,
because it had like awakened muscle groups that were like dormant for so long. It just got,
yeah.
it gets used to patterns, right?
Mhm.
Like you used to talking about. So it was like now I spent like 3 days learning how to run again effectively with this like new pattern. And it was
Mhm.
like the first few days, it would, after 5 or 10 minutes, it would just get really tight. And I'd be like, this is so wild. And then I
It's
like the third day, I finally like stretched it out enough and I felt like a knot release. And I was like, there it is. I figured it out. And then it
right.
hasn't come back since. And it's been like 2, 3 weeks since then. So
That's awesome.
weird changes, right? Like these tiny little, like it doesn't feel like a big deal. And then you're
Mhm.
like, this is a whole different experience.
Right, right. And, as someone who my background a little bit, I am very fortunate that I did come from an athletic background.
Hmm.
My parents both being athletes, I found myself playing soccer. I ran a lot. I kind of tried a little bit of everything. And then the injuries started appearing in
Hmm.
my later years in high school, throughout college. It was kind of this constant battle. And then I always say that I quote found the gym, or maybe the gym found me. I don't really know which way it worked, but it really did save me a lot because I was not enjoying being active just in general at
Mm.
all after battling so many injuries, and it just found myself in a very sedentary state. Uh, in all aspects of my life, just kind of stuck. And so finding the gym was a place where I could go. I didn't have to run 10 miles. No one was telling me what to do. It was less pressure. And I did start to see, of course, because going from someone who never had really done any type of resistance training into that world, there was initial, almost like rehabbing my body. It did help my hip a lot initially. There
Mhm.
was the aesthetic build that came with that. And that was exciting, of course, because, we're seeing changes develop. I can track my progress. Okay, I lifted this much. Now the next week I lifted this much. It's very tangible things that we can grasp. But then it got to a point where I did find myself injured again. And so I was kind of battling these things. I found myself back into coaching was exciting, but same thing with the people I coached. I was able to get them very aesthetically in shape, better conditioned, athletically performing well, but we were still battling these simple nagging injuries. And it just seemed to be this constant thing. So eventually my brain just really had to stop and think, okay, what is happening? Why am I more fit than I've ever been in my life? Why am I the strongest I've ever been? Why are these people I'm coaching, quote, in shape, stronger than they've ever been, more conditioned than they've ever been? Because I coached a lot of hit training style of work too.
Okay, yeah.
It's performing better, but yet I'm still the same type of little nagging injuries were continuing to creep up. And so I had a movement coach show me some awareness as well when it came to patterning in sports, patterning in children, patterning in elderly people who are still thriving in their environments, their communities till later years in life, and patterning in these elite athletes who are not suffering these catastrophic injuries or debilitating pains or having to undergo very invasive surgeries. It's like, why are some people thriving and some people are just breaking down? And you can really see a huge difference. That's why I do rely a lot on slow motion video to assess and address these problems, because everyone is filming themselves. So it really was this huge perspective change. I had to really look myself in the mirror and say, okay, are the exercises I'm doing on a daily basis in this gym that are supposed to be getting me strong, are they actually feeding my entire system and my entire body as a human? Like, why am I not resilient? I feel like I'm putting the time and work. My form is, from what I've been taught by coaches, education, this is how I'm supposed to be performing these things. So why am I still hurt? So it was really eye-opening, and it takes time, and but it's been so empowering and amazing. And so that way it is very freeing, because having these little nagging pains and issues that people are experiencing takes you out of what you love to do. And you want to reach the goals you want to reach. You don't want to be stuck having to take time off just because you're having some sciatica issues or knee issues. And so it's been this kind of full cycle learning process, but it's been so amazing that the littlest of things, even what we did to get you reintroduced to your entire movement system, your nervous system, your fascia, like all these things that interwork. Because yes, the human body is complicated, but if we just keep it super simple and address the ability to move forward really well, a lot of things, like I said, can be cleaned up. So it's fun to kind of introduce you to that and have you feel new ways of moving where you're using your own body weight and not having to rely on external load to feel things. You're able to create that in your body, and then the doors get blown off on, all kinds of things you like to do. If you're
yeah, it's really interesting to me, and it's like part of it kind of think of this like philosophy that's kind of shifted probably in the like last probably 10 or 15 years. Like when I was still in high school, it still felt like there's like a dichotomy between like the runner people, right, and then like the endurance athletes, and then like these like strength athletes, which were more of like the football players, the wrestlers, the that other end of the spectrum in some sense. And it was like there was almost like a tug of war going on where like the coaches from different domains would kind of argue about semantics, really, where it's like you shouldn't lift if you're like a track and field athlete because you're going to gain too much muscle and you're going to destroy your running times, which lo and behold, like the hex bar deadlift is like one of the best like indicators of your maximum sprint capacity. So it's like, okay, we were wrong, but it's like you can't expect these high school coaches to be the cutting edge anyways. But then the other end of this too is that certain amount of the high school athletes, like in football, they would end up having knee pain or like ACL tears and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure you see that constantly or have heard many stories about this. And that ends people's athletic careers way before it should ever happen, right? And to me, it's always been like this idea that we that shouldn't be like, oh, well, it's going to happen eventually. Like sports is going to tear your body apart. And it's like, either you're one of the lucky ones who it doesn't happen to you, or you just grin and bear it and you just keep going until you burn out. Right. Like the gymnastics type person. And I'm like, this, like, it always just seems so strange to me because like the whole point of it, like, at least from my own experience is like people who go to college and then find the weightlifting gym there, like because there's downtime finally. A lot of the guys I would know, they would get super hyped and gung-ho about, doing bench press. And then they try to do the mythical 225 too fast and then tear their shoulder, their rotator cuff or something. And they like, well, I can't lift that much anymore because it just hurts all the time. And I'm like, that seems like what not to do. Right. Like, and I'm just like, why do we keep making these same stupid mistakes that can be avoided, that if you just take it slow and avoid the pain, you won't have the debilitating injury and you can lift for a lot longer. That's going to provide a lot more benefit in the long run.
And this can be controversial. A lot of people don't like to hear this, or when you kind of trigger what they enjoy doing, but there is another narrative that's kind of misconstrued that muscle mass equals health. And, people are breaking down I've worked with, a lot of athletes and a lot of people who from the outside look very aesthetically strong, what we would think of when we just see someone that we kind of attribute like that must be strength. That's what I need to achieve. But is that actually healthy? Are these people actually living pain-free and able to do whatever they like to do? And more oftentimes than not, they're breaking down. These, like you said, these elite athletes who are training their entire life, they're stronger than all of us. They're the most elite. Why are their bodies breaking down? And if they're breaking down, what are the rest of us going to do? What's happening? So the avoidable thing are a lot, these non-contact injuries are a problem. whether you're a general fitness enthusiast or you are an athlete. These non-contacts where people are changing direction and tearing their ACL, like you said. People are landing, going up for a layup, maybe it's basketball, landing and shredding an Achilles. There was just a recent professional soccer player who had been training in the gym heavy in the off season, building strength, trying to build his athletic performance, steps on the field, tears his hamstring. Why are we so strong? And we have more access to outsourcing our recovery when it comes to chiropractics and physical therapy, and more now than ever before. And yet we are still seeing exponential increase in injuries and invasive surgeries. Why are these things, these two things happening? And it really does come to, again, not just what, but how we are moving and how we're living outside of the gym. There is a difference between movement and training. My crew and I, we talk about this all the time. And, are we just trying to get really good at this exercise because this is what we've been told? Are we just obsessed with, for example, the barbell? We created this tool to be able to kind of maximize our space. There's a lot more of us on the planet now, and we want to, trying to feed our health. So we have this barbell that now we can just be able to stay in a platform size area and do a whole bunch of things. But that's a lot of up and down vertical movement. And that takes us farther away from the needle of forward movement. And that's the model that I really train, is movement versus just training. I like to keep people's training safe as possible, of course, with a couple key things, awareness tips per se. But at the end of the day too, even just like the most important is what you're doing when you walk away from the gym. Or maybe you don't like the gym. Maybe you're just out living your life. But what are you doing time and time again at home, at work? Those inputs honestly are even more going to make or break you than even what you're doing in a gym setting. So of course I want to keep you safe, but at the same time, even what you're doing outside of that training session is going to play a huge role in how you're feeling. And so that's kind of where I got to, is am I just trying to get really good at the deadlift for the sake of a barbell deadlift, just to say that my max number went up? But then when I do go to do anything else in my life, like I'm feeling tension, I'm feeling strain. It doesn't feel good when I go to move forward. So that is essentially the model that I tend to follow, is getting us back to these innate patterns that we had as children. The first things we do is we learn to get strength from that prone position and what we call tummy time. We pull ourselves up. We start to orient ourselves. What is our environment like? Those sensory systems start to come online for us. And then we take it into that motor system, which we learn to crawl, and then we stand to walk and run. Those are the most, human, basic, instinctual things that we do. And we've just taken ourselves farther away from those. So there's a couple key things I really try to make my coaching feed and make sure I preserve that ability for a person to walk and run pain-free. And then everything else just becomes kind of the fun on top of it, what I call recess. Someone wants to go to the gym and lift heavy weight, because no matter what I try to show, or, maybe this isn't the most healthy, like for longevity. If they don't, they're like, I don't care. I'm doing this. I love it so much. I'm willing to take the risk. Okay. Let me give them something that they can counterbalance, at least on their off time, those inputs that they're getting. And for some of these elite athletes, like for soccer playing, for example, they're runners. They're jumping and leaving. They're leaving the ground and landing onto the ground, and then they're running. Yes, they're kicking the ball and things, but they are locomotive athletes. So the training that they do in the off time needs to support that system. And right now there's a conflicting view. And again, it's very triggering when I'm working with a female, especially, and I say, hey, you don't have to hip thrust to build a strong and aesthetically nice backside. We want to own that. Let me teach you. Sometimes that can be very hard to hear from people, but I always say, just keep an open mind and try. Like you said, and I was the same way. Like, okay, I'm seeing patterns of injury, and I'm seeing really strong patterns for forward. Let me just try this on my own. I don't know. It was crazy. It looked crazy. I tried. I was feeling some decompression, which was really nice for my back, gave my hips some relief. But then as someone who likes to get after it, because a lot of us do, we're feeding, we need that adrenaline rush because most of our lives just don't have it anymore. So I was searching for that. So now I'm able to apply these simple patterns to keep me safe into my recess, whatever that looks like
Yeah.
for the day. So that way we can keep being active. We can keep coming back to movement every single day. We're not out of the game because we've got some knee problems or hip problems or, whatever else is going on. So big perspective change, but so simple and has just had a crazy, impact on life. And yeah.
Yeah, I think, I mean, like two things, like with the
Mhm.
initial movement phase, like going from
Mhm.
children, like how do children move well, right? It's
Mhm.
like reframing how we've had to rediscover, right, exercise. We created a thing called
Right.
exercise. I think it was like the 1950s or so.
Yes.
It
Very
was like when
recently. Very
yeah,
recent.
like they
Yeah.
rediscovered it. I mean, for years there was a whole bunch of people who were like, "Yeah, this is probably not a good idea," right? I mean, sure, like you could probably look it up for people who are interested. Maybe I'll find a video of it. But like the
Yeah.
vibration pad things that people
Oh,
used to use, like they're hilarious
yeah.
to some degree.
Yeah.
But like to me, it's we've taken a lot of what we as in like the Western philosophy of like deconstructing things and like turning it into like a one dimensional thing as
Right.
possible, and that's really what we've done with exercise, and we've kind of pushed that to its limit, I think.
Mhm.
Where the idea is it's either static or dynamic, and I think we're rediscovering the dynamic portion of what it
Mhm.
means to move the body, because if you look at like all of the core lifts, like just the Olympic lifts, you have
Mhm.
deadlift, bench press, squat.
Mhm.
I mean, and it's not to say those are static per se, but it's static in like the path of the bar, if that is what I mean.
In that movement up and down. We tend to drive through our heels. We tend to hip thrust at the top. And if you were to let go, whether it's a barbell and a snatch, a deadlift, kettlebell swinging, a hip thrust, if you let go, your momentum is putting you backwards. You are moving in reverse. And so the framework or model that my eyes really gravitate towards are, okay, well, I'm designed as a human. The most instinctual thing is for me to move forward. So are those inputs just fighting itself? And at the end of the day, is that serving me, or am I just trying to get good at that? It's a skill. And Olympic, what's interesting to me too, coming from that athletic background, Olympic weightlifting, powerlifting are sports. CrossFit is a sport. These are extreme sports on the body. And there's usually injury is
Right.
bound to happen. I mean, it is what it is. It's very hard on the body to, compress in all these different ways. And so it's interesting to me that a lot of the ways that the strength and conditioning community has taken to these lifts as now these are the standard for health and fitness. These are
It's like the report card.
the simple
Yeah.
foundations of athletic performance. And, I'm working with softball players, soccer players, a lot of rotations athletes as well, where that was just missing. That was becoming, okay, you're going to have a lot more restriction in your spine, in your ability to move forward, and things just weren't adding up. So we have to ask ourselves, am I just trying to get better and improve my skill set in this specific exercise? Or am I able to perform exercise that is serving my movement
Right.
per se? And so it's really interesting to take that shift. And it doesn't mean that if you don't barbell lift, you're going to get weak. There's also that.
Yeah, there's that weird
that whole
connotation.
kind of thing. Yeah. Am I going to, you're weak. So now we need to have you do this movement. And if you don't do this movement, you're going to lose all your strength. You're going to lose your aesthetics. You're going to lose all these things. And it's kind of a fear tactic, but it's just simply not true.
I mean, to me,
anymore.
it's actually an interesting thing, because like I would have thought that I would have lost a ton of weight since I've been running so much, and I really my overall composition hasn't really shifted a whole lot, even though I'm almost lifting. I don't even know, maybe a couple times a month at this point, because I'm just running all the time. Like normally people think you're like
Yeah.
you shrivel up if you just do cardio all the time, and it's like, nah, I don't know. Like your body kind of
Right.
has like a homeostasis that it like once it gets comfortable at a certain composition, it's like really hard to move it from there unless you're doing something crazy like a bodybuilder does, where they, where they're shedding all their water weight.
And if you are moving really well, you're moving your system as it's designed to. I like to say that, and you probably see me say this, but like we'll say back chain dominance, or your posterior. I like to say that your posterior is your drive gear. So that's pushing you forward. You're using all that. Your front is really assisting you to move forward. If you're moving with synchronization, organization, and everything is as it should, protecting your joints, tissues are operating nicely, you are feeding this daily, you are going to have strength. You're going to have security. You're going to have more flexibility, more range of motion, all these things. You're not going to wither away and, just become this little shrivel of a skeleton. So it really just comes down to, what is your goal? What is your goal? What is it? We have a really cool opportunity because we do live in a modern time where we have generated exercise to supplement our sedentary lifestyles these days. But if you look outside of our modern culture, our modern environments, you will see that for most people, and then if we look back and kind of even go further into like how our ancestors used to live, they didn't have to supplement their exercise. Exercise was not really a thing. There was entertainment, of course, in some capacity, but their daily life was feeding their need for exercise. So we've just gone away from that. And that's the problem. We're searching for it. And then there's some social constructs around that, when it comes to social settings and peacocking at the gym.
Yeah, for sure.
All these little kind of different nuances of things that we're now creating in the gym. But it's like, do we actually need those things? And this is coming from someone who I've done it all. I probably very much like you. I want to try it all. I want to do it all. I love it. I love to push myself, discipline, all that, because I'm all about default aggressive. But now I can be default aggressive and have, really expend energy and just have the freedom of movement if you're moving pain-free because you're honoring your most natural design, the way that your ancestors moved, honoring that in a lot of different ways, not just in a training sense, but a lot of life adjustments have happened as well. I know we talked about that a little bit too in our session, changing up how you're orienting your workspace. And when you're coming home from a long day, what's the best way to rest? How should you stand when you're maybe cooking in the kitchen or brushing your teeth? Like all these little things can really add up in positive changes, even outside of a dedicated training space. So it's honoring how we came to this place, Right now, like I said, pain, hip pain, back pain, shin splints, hip impingement. I was told I had hip impingement for a while. A lot of these things, tech neck, we can eliminate or drastically reduce just by changing our living environments and getting back to the ground, letting our feet breathe, getting sunlight, walking more, all these little things. It's really
it's an interesting, right? Like there's a point, no, there's not a point, but it's like some of it is what are you incentivized for? Like is when you step back and look at your environment, it's almost kind of related to meditation from like an internal landscape, so to speak, but like you're applying some of the same like awareness ideas to like how are you standing, because how many times do people think about like what are you, like how are you standing or sitting most of the time, right? Like most people it's like I don't know, maybe when you were younger some older parent or teacher would be like, hey, you're slouching, right? Like quit slouching. Like I remember stuff like that. But like nowadays it's like it's so easy because you're on your phone or whatever you're doing, or you're you got 10 minutes to do nothing, and you're what's your knee-jerk reaction? I'm sure almost all of us grab for the phone and you get sucked in for whatever reason. I mean, it's just so easy because boredom is dead, right? Like like you're not allowed to be bored anymore. But like the other part of this for me is like looking back. I've always really enjoyed the idea of like how do you look back at humanity, like just in any historical context, and apply things that worked, because I mean in a lot of ways our bodies are still something that's millions of years old, and we're in an environment that is not like what our body is designed for. And so to some degree we have to kind of like capture what it was designed to do well, so that we're not kind of running these issue, like even just thinking about like type 2 diabetes, like why do we have that? It's like, well, we didn't have the abundance of calories we do today, and so our brains and bodies are designed to just eat the most calorie dense thing, or at least what signals that, and lo and behold that generates a disease that is not very good in the long term. But that was never a thing that our body was designed to even encounter, so that you couldn't predict that would happen, right? And so for me, it's like looking at places like the Born to Run is one of the books that I remember reading. And I just love those ideas. And the other one was like, it's I forget exactly. It was one of the kettlebell instructors from Russia that came over and kind of popularized the kettlebell. Maybe Pavel Topsulin.
Yes. Yeah, I'm
I forget the
blanking.
name of the book, but his book was like on kettlebell training, but it was always like it was counterintuitive at the time because that was in the bodybuilding phase of like going to exhaustion, going to failure, finding your 1 rep max was kind of like the thing to do, or
Right.
like everyone was kind of gamifying it to build programs about like what is your 1
Right.
RPE, and then creating
Yeah.
programs to do that. And to me, it was like, well, if you're not a max athlete, why would you want to go to failure? It's like, if the goal is to
Right.
be more active across your lifespan or whatever your most active years are,
Right.
you should never really be hitting failure unless you're doing like an event of some kind. That's fine. But like, that's different. That's a special occasion.
Yeah.
But like for the majority of humans, it's probably a good idea to be moving a little bit every day and not be so sore that you need to take 2-3
Mhm.
days off, because just from a
Right.
psychological standpoint, taking time away, it's a lot harder to start doing something again because, well, it's like I was sore, and it's like if I do this again, I'm going to be sore for another 3 days. So it might as well just not even go work out again, right? So that's how you go from like, it's the same idea with injury, right? Like you injure yourself, you spend a month not being able to move properly, or it just hurts, like not even like a
Yeah.
major injury, like it's say it's just a nagging pain of some kind. You're setting yourself
Right.
up to not stick with the habit. Again, it's like the awareness.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said too, honoring, what
Hmm.
looking back, what did we used to do? Because for thousands of years, if not way hundreds of thousands of years, we were human. We were able to thrive. We were not, experiencing these setbacks, these times away from work. Can you imagine if our life really revolved around waking up with the sun, having to make sure we had food, making sure our shelter was in place, spending time with our family, preserving energy as needed on the ground, and then being able to go and walk 6 miles a day, no problem. We don't do that anymore. And we chase, we kind of have that badge of honor, that pain. If I'm experiencing pain, I'm doing something right. And it's kind of like that. We're just hungry for it. How broken can I be? It's like that's I'm disciplined though, so I can rise above it. It's tough. And I know
Oh
you
yeah.
love Goggins. I love Goggins too. I love Jocko. That was actually one of the books I was going to say that I really loved reading was Extreme Ownership. I am all for extreme ownership, but we also want to be smart. And really, for the next generation, what's the narrative we're going to tell the
Hmm.
next group of young kids coming through? Hey, you're probably going to be broken. It's okay. You're going to have to take time off. You might feel pain a lot, but you'll be jacked. So what are we telling people?
Mixed messages.
And so really looking back at what was natural once, what did allow us to thrive and live
Hmm.
good long lives. And there are populations of people that still do that. And I find that, strength, like I said, strength, length, flexibility, or I guess that's kind of part of it, aesthetic and athleticism can all reap the benefits if we're just preserving our most natural state as possible. And we don't have to be battling all these diagnosed
Hmm.
problems that are happening with the body, because we just segment the body up, but the body is really smart. The human body is resilient, so it will adapt to these
Hmm.
inputs we give it, and it's really smart. We just have to let it do its thing, and we have to listen to those signals that are
Yeah.
popping up, the pain signals, the feedback. Like, listen, you're feeling this. We need to not just ignore this. We need to actually address it and make a change. Your body's trying. I know sometimes, because we work with a lot of people, that we have to kind of reintroduce, where are we feeling pain? What is that pain actually feeling like and telling us, and not being scared of it or trying to
Mm.
suppress it with drugs or,
Yeah.
things like anti-inflammatories and, suppressing the pain. Listen to it. It's feedback. It's good. And we can make those, it can be frustrating. If you tell someone with knee pain, like, just listen to your pain, it's a good thing. They're going to say, no, it's not a good thing. I don't want this in my body, but it is feedback. And now we have the opportunity to use the technology that we do have, which is awesome, film and see what's going on. Let's look at your walk. Let's look at your ability to get up and down
Hmm.
off the ground. Can we do that or not? How can we touch the floor with our palms as we hinge? Because these are patterns and positions, the deep resting squat, the full forward fold, the walk and the run. Those 4 things I look at the most in my athletes. And those 4 things tell me a lot of whether you're moving really well or we have to do
Yeah.
some work. And those are things that we see in young children. They are doing those things constantly. They're in their deep squat. They're up. They're moving around. They're ready to go. They're out on the playground, screaming, yelling, playing tag, jumping, climbing. They're so free in their bodies. And we just, because of the nature of our modern society, not just the way we train at times, but, you know, the shoes that we wear, the chair sitting, a lot of the chair sitting that we're doing, and just less, you know, more sedentary lives, it's taking us out of that free body. So young children they're constantly in that deep squat, and they'll push up into a forward fold. We see a lot of indigenous people. There's a lot out there. I highly recommend you just Google this stuff, and film is out there now, which is really cool. You can see so much. And there was this one woman, I think it was there's one tribe that I watched a lot of video on. Send it over once we're done here. But it was the Hazda. But some of these, you know, these elderly people, they're 80, they're 90 years old. They have the aesthetic. They can work for hours in a deep squat position, in a forward fold, because their working environment gets them back to the ground. They're in this natural state. You've got people walking miles to, just depending on what they're doing for the day, but through the jungle, barefoot, orienting themselves in their environment, no problem, no pain, no invasive surgery. I know we said this too when we had our session, but of course there are environmental issues that come up with living in certain places. My skill set is not going to be able to hunt my own food at any point in time. So I'm very grateful for modern culture and what that allows me to then do. But at the same time, being able to recognize, okay, the things that are more luxury in our life now, they also are taking away, they are, like I said, they're moving the needle away from what is natural. So if I'm aware of that, I can at least honor that and be able to get back to making sure I'm preserving the ability to get up and down off the ground, to walk without pain, to stand around in my environment, and to do what I want to do. And it really comes down to just what is innate, what is natural, and really kind of mimicking the people who are having nice, long lives without the wear and tear, without the invasive surgeries, without the medication, and without having to take time off for the sake of strength, you know, whatever that is.
I think it's really interesting just to, you know, to hear that. And the other thing I would say, to me, it's telling because the way you move it is like now, right? Like at a younger age is kind of indicative of like what's going to happen when you get older, because it's one of the things about aging is the loss of muscle mass, but then also the like the weakening of your bones effectively, because at old age, the thing that's kills you isn't like the fall, but that's like the injury that kind of sets the whole dominoes in motion. And if you can kind of move well for as long as you possibly can, which is, you know, getting up off the ground like you were talking about, or hip hinge properly for as long as you possibly can without pain, that is going to set you up for reduced risk of overall death. I mean, it sounds dark, but I mean, it's just the reality. Like,
no, it is.
And
it is.
It can't be understated,
very, very
I think.
There's some coaches that I work with that also do work. I tend to work more with, I guess I kind of array of a lot of people, but there are some that do work more specifically with elderly populations. And that's a huge component of the movement training we do with them, is teaching people that the ground is a safe place. You know, just as we had as children, we often fear it. So when we do fall, we don't spend time there. We are falling to brace ourselves from that impact. Versus, like you said, being able to, okay, I can go back to the ground. I can hinge from there. I can bend and not have a back spasm or pull something, or I know how to get up and down. So I'm not going to be at risk as much of breaking a hip or all these kinds of things. So finding ways to be strong in how we absorb impact from the ground with our foot positioning and with where our hips are and how to actually use those in a really positive way can be, like you said, it is the difference between life and death. It just is. And we can be really strong and resilient in our old age. And it's changing that narrative too, that we're broken, we're helpless. We don't have, you know, it takes a second to take a step back and take ownership of our own bodies. You know, not having to outsource our treatment so much, not having to outsource our treatment or put Band-Aids on things, trying to just, you know, that, what's that analogy where there's like the little kid and there's the hole in the wall and there's the water coming out of like the dike or whatever. And then you're just trying to plug up these holes that are happening instead of just getting down to the root cause and understanding, yes, the human body is complicated, but there is a really strong natural way that we can move and facilitate good movement with just simple
Yeah.
adjustments. So it is
It's a
crazy.
paradigm shift that I think we need to do just in general, where
Mhm.
we've taken we've applied a lot from medicine to movement,
Right.
which is basically if the system isn't broken already, as long if there's no bone broken or no, the bone's not sticking out of the skin, there's not a real problem yet. So we'll, come back in 3 months. If it's still a problem, then we'll figure it out. And I think we really need to
Yeah.
think about it in a different way, which is, check sooner rather than later. It's like, yeah, preventing
Prevention. Yeah.
first,
Prevention.
or
Yeah.
having not even prevention
Mhm.
in the sense of like, it's going to hurt. It's more of like, just start learning to move properly first,
Mm.
so you never even
Yeah.
have to get to the point of preventing anything because you're already doing it right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what that's what I mean. We're more of like a
Yes.
treatment based right now in our
Yeah.
health approach. We find the symptoms, we trying to isolate the one symptom. Okay, great. We cleaned up your knee problem a little bit because we just focused
Yep.
on that one site. But usually, especially with the knees, that's not the root cause. It usually tends to come from either poor foot loading or poor hip loading. That's generally when every single person I've worked with that has knee problems, it's one or two of those factors that comes down to. So instead of just, again, plugging that one hole and then hoping it doesn't come back, treating the root cause. And we are a treatment based kind of industry now, and it's leaving a lot of people just frustrated or down and out. And it is going to require it's kind of more of this social movement that's going to have to happen in addressing these little things. But I think it can, the more conversations like this that we have, bringing awareness to people's minds about, I've never really thought about my feet too much. I've never really thought about how I sit or how I stand. Maybe a little bit. We kind of do that little, oh, okay, yeah, my posture, but then we go right back into it. So making these big changes, I think will play a big role. And to me, I think there is a problem. I know we kind of said, well, there's not a problem yet. I think that the numbers show there is a drastic problem going on. Maybe for some, it doesn't seem, with all the chaos in the world right now going on, it doesn't seem like it's a priority, but I find that the human body is so amazing, and there is a problem that we need to address and give people back what is it? Is that the right word? The autonomy? Is that the word I'm thinking of? Basically the power to have ownership of your body, what you do with it, just not have to outsource so much of what's going on, and know that your body is strong and resilient. And a lot of these things can be taken care of with a little bit of awareness. It's very, very crazy. Whether it's mind or body, all of these things go hand in hand. And so I'm just really passionate about sharing that as much as possible, and hope to just, help people move better and then do what you love, it's really hard to enjoy life when you are in pain. I mean, quality of life is important, and you want to make sure that you're feeling good day to day. Of course, there's little things that happen, but if you have the awareness and then you can address it, it's amazing.
I do want to get to the spiral, because you guys have so many awesome videos and you highlight this a ton. And for people who aren't used to it, they're not going to understand it. They're going to just be like, what are they talking about? The spiral? It sounds culty.
Nature, weird, hippies.
Yeah. Right. And I like it,
Right.
it took me a while to understand it, but then every so often you guys would post these clips where you would highlight either athletes or other people, because like you say, we have video all the time of other people running, and it's like you could tell too, it's like some of this is intuitive, where you can watch an athlete who has it innate, and they're like, oh yeah, there's something about the way that is built different, right? It's a meme, but it makes sense in this context. And so take it however you want, and we'll make sure we link to some videos to the spiral, because I think it's really interesting for people to see, because I think it really hammers all the points we've been trying to talking about home, is like actually seeing it. And it's like, that's not it. You don't need to be a gifted athlete to achieve some version of this.
Spiraling is what we look at in forward motion. So our ability to crawl, walk, run, the way we throw, the way we swing things, all has the same energy motion, the same out to in release. So I load out. Let's just take the run, for example, that first step. If I want to make sure that I'm able to move forward pain-free and fluidly, And in a synchronized, organized way, kind of like we said before, I take a step forward, land on the strong outside edge of my foot. Energy loads out so that everything opens out and back. You've got your glutes doing a lot of the absorption, loading. You've got your hamstrings that are ready to slingshot you forward. Your posterior is allowing you to safely absorb impact and set a really strong, this bowing shape, essentially, if you imagine this bow and arrow. So we load out. And then as we try to take the next step forward, we want that out to then slingshot us back in. That is how energy moves the most efficiently, out to in. It's like this wave. Literally, if you imagine things in nature that, demonstrate this really nicely, the wave itself, out to in. If you look at, I love the Weather Channel. My brother's a big Weather Channel nerd, so he often shares a lot with me. And then living on the East Coast, we're constantly getting hurricane warnings. So if you watch weather patterns, out to in creates these spirals. The way things grow, if you look at shells a lot of time, it's just this natural, they call it the Fibonacci sequence. It's just this forever spiraling effect. Our body, if you watch it in slow motion video, you can see this wave happening as children develop the ability to crawl. They move things out. Let's just say we move all of our momentum out to the right, and then we're able to get all the way around and release in to get to the left. So you've got this opening, external rotation, big bow setting out, and then we're able to internally rotate, release, leave the ground in. And as we get farther away from our ability to move forward, that's what we've been talking about this whole time. We walk less, we run less, we are away from the ground, so we are not squatting or hinging as much as we should be. Then we do, for the sake of health, go into the gym. We're doing a lot of that heels down, hip thrust motion. That makes us move in reverse. So that's taking us away from this out to in, and it makes us stuck, and we start moving in to out. And that's where ailments start to creep up. So it's just this energy wave of out to in. You can really watch. That's why slow motion video is so powerful. We have so much film now because, again, everyone films themselves. We're always filming everything. It's like our phones have been attached to our hands. So we have, film of people just walking around at the store, or maybe they're on vacation, or we have the athletes doing their sports. So we have tons of film of people swinging bats and tennis rackets or throwing balls, footballs. And so we can really see this energy wave a lot of times, because sometimes we like to think that, we're all different, so we have a different gait cycle because we're all unique and this and that. But the overall spectrum of movement is out to in. So just like, these other systems that we all can recognize in our body that operate a certain way, our digestive system, our cardiovascular system, the way we breathe, we all know, and we all can probably agree that, yes, those things have a natural way of operating. But for some reason, we have that disconnect when it comes to the musculoskeletal system. We say, no, we're all unique. Don't tell me what to do. I have my own way to walk and run. It's fine. I'm unique. And that is very true. Some people are just not doing it as well as others. And so if we can recognize that ability to spiral, when I assess people, like I said before, I take a look at your ability to walk, run, squat, and hinge. And through that, I can really tell a lot. And the other coaches who are kind of up this new wave of movement coaches, this new wave, literally, and new wave of movement coaches have this kind of big picture perspective on honoring those natural patterns that we have, those innate patterns that we have as children, that we see in the indigenous and our ancestors. And so through that, we can really say, okay, what do we need to address in your walk, hinge, or walk, run, hinge, and squat? And can we clean up these patterns so that you can get back to walking with that out to in energy? That's a long-winded way of saying that, but basically out to in, out to in. You don't want your hips to get stuck in a certain way. You don't want to be hit that trailing leg to just hit this wall, essentially. Energy, if we're not spiraling, is just leaking. It's just bleeding out. We're not moving efficiently. We're not moving securely. A lot of times we put a lot of pressure and impact into the knees, especially for women. The ACL injuries for women athletes, especially in soccer, things like field hockey and lacrosse, and even basketball, are really a lot right now because we have a harder time with that loading phase out. So we do see some knock-kneedness or valgusing, and that's causing a lot of problems.
Is that just because of the pelvis and how the legs?
Yeah, like, and just with the way,
even
just how we sit a lot of times, or how we're told to sit, things just kind of keep your legs closed and kind of cave in. And then the nature of just how we, just the sports that we do, and the way we're not honing in on strong optimal loading patterns and tension and pressurizing from our backside big time. Right. So we have a hard time kind of feeling that eccentric loading in the back. Whereas men on the opposite spectrum, I find that most of my male clients and athletes, the internal rotation is really challenging, because from early ages, usually men take to weight training a lot sooner. So there is a lot of this, barbell work, or that thrusting motion. Everything is just pushing out. So it makes it really hard to pull back in and find length. Let's just say that deep forward fold. A lot of times I'll have someone facing me. Let's just use a male athlete, for example. Feet are straight. They're pointing, facing at me. They're reaching down for their toes, but their kneecaps are pointing east and west. They're not looking at me. They're moving in the opposite direction, where we want to see that pulling in, because that's just going to demonstrate to me what that walk and run is going to look like. Are we going to be able to move forward with that efficiency, with synchronization, with really nice fluidness from top to bottom, or are we going to be stuck and rigid and have tightness or compression and just take away from our athletic abilities? So that's kind of the winded way to say.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, it doesn't surprise me at all. Like just thinking about, like, what are people like? What is the? I mean, in some sense, it's like a socialized home base, because I mean, even I see that, and I got into it later, but it's part of that is because you're told to do deadlift and squat and all that stuff. It's like you say, it's all thrusting, and it's like, for me, like, we found that out very quickly that my hamstrings are incredibly locked up. Like, and that, I'm assuming that is not uncommon, especially just in the modern context in general. It's again, it's like, what is the environment you're in, and your body's going to optimize for that.
And that's another good way to put it too, because when we look at habit building, especially when in the health industry or fitness or performance, we're really big on, or even wellness, whatever you want to call it, whatever buzzword we want to call it, wellness. We look at habit building: drink enough water, go outside and get fresh air, get 8 to 9, however many hours of sleep. Like, we know, okay. And then when it comes to exercise, yes, get 30 minutes to an hour a day of exercise in. But then we just kind of, whatever exercise is, just go do it. It doesn't really matter what or how. But we really should look at what kind of quality movement are we getting in during the day. And so it does matter how we're exercising, and, kind of looking at what is the goal? What is our goal here? Are we training for longevity? Are you working towards a specific sport? Do you really just love aesthetic? Then we need to adjust and adapt what those inputs are going to be outside of that dedicated training space. So at the end of the day, because I think most people go into the gym, they want to be healthy, they want to feel good, they want to look good, and that's okay. Community, all these great things that come from, whether it's gyms or just training or being active in general. There's so many great things, whether it's yoga or sport or the gym, doesn't matter. The intention is there, but now we just need to have the integration into real life, good quality movement so that we can show up every day. At the end of the day, we want to show up every day. And so how we move, and I just really hone in on the spiraling of forward movement.
Yeah, that's really cool. Since we're already at our limit here, you mentioned books, so we'll make sure we come back to that. You mentioned Extreme Ownership from from Jocko. Anything else? Any other books you want to add?
I have my little list here just so I didn't forget, but two big ones. If people are looking just to what are you talking about, natural or nature? Or what do you mean the body is self-healing? Peter Egoscue, he was one of the revolutionary guys who came out there to say that our system is smart. We can eliminate chronic pain without drugs, surgery, or expensive therapy on the sides. Our body is intelligent. There isn't this really strong way to move. So he has a great book, Revolutionary Method to Stopping Chronic Pain. And then Katie Bowman is another, I really like her stuff. It's, she talks about nutritious movement, essentially, like feeding the body the good stuff. And really that movement is I like a quote. She says that movement is a part of our body, much like electricity is a part of a working television. It's part of it. We're constantly able to turn it on, and we want to make sure we keep it on, or turn it off and rest as much as possible in really strong, positive ground positions. But she really kind of set the stage for the relationship between movement and nature, and how those two things interact and connect big time. So kind of breaking the stereotypes on a lot of just classic ways that we approach movement and medicine a little bit. So I really like those ones, cool. For sure. And there's one more called Stillness Speaks by Eckhart Tolle that one of my friends had told me about. It's simple. He's got the Power of Now book, but I love his little kind of simple Stillness Speaks. It's a book I'll just open up. You find some cool little brain nuggets that really allow us to let go of our ego and listen to a deeper consciousness and a deeper mindful connection. So I like that a lot, because again, sometimes I spiral in my brain quite a bit, so I need to down regulate my insides.
Me and you are the same kind of people. If I don't give myself the break, I never will.
So I oftentimes pick up books and I'll read like parts of them, just continuing to like read different parts, where sometimes like I just need to finish this. So, but it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that feeling. Over energized.
I've been called at my other jobs. Yeah. The Energizer Bunny, a bee, a bumblebee. I'm always just buzzing around constantly, but what it is. It's fun. Yeah.
Not surprising at all. Totally fits. Last but not least, I love to end with this question, but it's any advice to someone who's either smart driven or, either a college student, someone entering the real world, or now in this world of never ending change, it feels like anyone who's just looking to pivot in their own life.
I would definitely say, and this is going to sound just so generic, but pivot. Take action. Allow yourself to critically think. A lot of times we are just on autopilot now. Just like with the pain, we kind of suppress and we move on. We have pain amnesia almost. I feel this, I'll deal with it later. I don't know if this is right. Well, a higher authority is telling me it's right, so I guess I'm just going to blindly believe without doing our own work. So do the work, take action, and if you can, I feel so. There's a quote, I think it was John Wayne. Who said there's the two most important days of your life are the day you're born and the day you find out why. I feel so lucky to have found my why and a passion that basically I forget sometimes that, I actually do need to maybe like collect money sometimes, because I just love what I'm doing so much that it doesn't feel like a job. Like, oh wait, I have to make sure that I'm actually running this business. And if someone is out there, they're getting started and they do have an itch somewhere, they have a passion, follow that, pursue it, because you will either eventually get back to it, but you might as well jump in now, or you'll regret not. Just follow that and do what you love. Find what you enjoy doing and keep feeding into that. Unless it's causing you pain, then stop doing that. Unless you're breaking yourself, and if you don't want to have a hip replacement, stop hip thrusting.
Caveat. Tiny caveats. Unless you're a boxer or MMA fighter, maybe.
They don't hip thrust.
That's true. But they do get punched.
Yeah.
They get
that's
punched in the head for a living. So
unless your job is also bringing in the bank, then sometimes you got to sacrifice your head. It's okay. That's considered though a contact injury. I will say that is a contact injury.
Good point. What do they call it? Is that a job hazard technically?
I think they're hopefully having some kind of health insurance or something. Hopefully.
Right. Cool. All right. Last but not least, where can people, connect with you on the internet?
Sir.
Or get in touch?
I'm most active right now on Instagram. Simple way to just reach out to me is through my Instagram at coach.karlee. Pretty straightforward. I can message there a lot easier and then direct people, but that's like the best way. Just hit me up on there with questions. Even if this is very new to you, I will say I recommend, leaving people with, if you can, get to the ground more often, even in your working environment. Right now, I sit on the ground all the time. That's one of the safest places you can be. So good for your back, so good for your body. So spend more time on the ground if you can, and that can do wonders, even just from, if there's like one tip I could leave someone with, get back to the ground.
I think we made a good case for that in just this 1 hour. Cool. Awesome. I really appreciate you coming on and making time here. And I'll make sure links are in the show notes to where people connect to you. So you'll see all that stuff, and it'll, we'll try to put as much resources in there for people to play around and get a feel for the unique way you guys approach movement. I think it's really cool, and, keep doing what you guys are doing. And if there's anything for any reason that you need to have another conversation,
how to reach me.
Always game.
Be here whenever. Thanks so much, Erich. I appreciate it.
Thank you all for making it through today's episode of the podcast. If you're hearing my voice now, that means you've made it through the whole hour. And with that, why did you stick through it? What were the parts that sticked out to you? What did you like? What do you have questions on? Or what else could you add here? What are the other resources or books or practitioners in this space around movement and exercise on how to move well that you guys have come across in your own research? This is an area for me that I'm constantly digging for more information and just learning every day and learning how to move my body better for longer, really. This, to me, all of this comes down to longevity. How do I perform at my best for as long as freaking possible? And I can't help but be hype when I think about this stuff. So with that, everyone, if you're still listening to me ramble, that means you probably like what we do here at Feeding Curiosity. So with that, I humbly ask you, please like, share, subscribe, do all the good things for free. And if you really, really like what we do, I would greatly appreciate if you check out our Patreon page, Feeding Curiosity, patreon.com/Feeding Curiosity. Or you could head over to our Anchor page or now Spotify podcast page and support there as well. Either way, all of it is to get bigger and better and do Feeding Curiosity at a ever bigger scale and get bigger guests on here, because that's what I want to do. I just want to push the envelope on getting as much information into people's hands as possible and how they can live better, whatever domain that might be. So with that, thank you all for listening to this episode, and I will see you all in the next one.